That's an age-old question, whether or not adolescence is physical or it's social. Basically, they are talking about redefining. So there is physical reasons as to why perhaps we should extend the definition of adolescence, but they're basically saying in terms of socially, in the Western societies, there's big differences that mean it should be extended.
And I mean, let's note that adolescence has come down in age, if you like, the early onset of puberty, now down to 10 years old or so, but they're saying at the other end of the spectrum as well, they should be pushing up the definition.
That's right. So basically in the last 150 years, we've seen a big rise in when adolescents reach puberty, a big fall rather. So it used to be about the age of 14. So they've done studies, for example, in Norway, that 14 was when, at 17 was when a girl first got her period. Now it's closer to 12, 13, so it's gone down by about 4 years. So that's why about 50 years ago, WHO dropped the date of when adolescence starts to the age of 10. WHO still considers that the World Health Organization still considers that it lasts to 19, but yes, now they're pushing it this limit.
And I mean, have they done research on this?
This is a viewpoint, so it's an opinion piece, but they are experts in adolescent health and they are experts in the area.
So they're trying to drive policy, basically. They're trying to change policy.
That's right. So they say, for example, in terms of biological reasons why it should be extended, they say there's still brain development that goes on well into your mid-20s. Many people in their mid-20s, that's when they get wisdom teeth. So there's still biological changes that are occurring. The body's still maturing. And they're saying in terms of, policy, that should be, for example, young people in care. There shouldn't be this abrupt quick ending to their care. There should be a transition period from the age of 18 to 25.
So does it represent in their mind a newer, a fresher understanding of how long it takes for us to grow up?
Yeah, so biologically we've known this impact, but yes, it's a fresher take on it. And they say, for example, nowadays, for example, in Britain, 25 is the age in which a child will leave their parental home. They're marrying later.
Which is a lot later than it used to be.
So much later. So China, for example, the average age of a woman marrying used to be 20, it's now 24. So across the globe, in many developing or developed world, we're seeing this change, and so they are saying that policy needs to reflect that.
Well, you mentioned the developed world. I mean, can we talk for a moment about the developing world briefly? Because often in the developing world, children are asked at a very young age to take on roles that adults, might only expect to take on in countries such as Britain. I wonder if there's anything going on there.
Yeah. So as I said, here we're seeing this lowering in the age in which puberty onset occurs. In the developing world, that's still occurring. So in Southeast Asia, for example, this lowering is still occurring. And this goes back to that question of whether or not adolescence is a biological or a social construct. Biologically, they, just like women here or men here, they are still maturing into their mid-20s. But in terms of sociologically, there are pressures on them perhaps to marry earlier, and the question, I spoke to a researcher on this morning, the question is whether or not they're at that level yet in terms of socio-development. Okay,
but I mean, very briefly, they're putting this into the debate, but they're not saying that they've got evidence to support this, they just think there should be policy changes.
Exactly, this is the start of the discussion.
All right, okay, well, Katie Silver, thank you very much indeed for joining us.